One simple blood test can destroy a family, rewrite the past, and expose secrets that were never meant to breathe. Dani and Nicole walking into that room is not just a medical moment. It is the start of something that cannot be undone. Dani does not walk into the blood test room like someone who expects good news. Every step she takes feels heavy, as if she already knows that once the results come back, nothing will ever feel the same again. This moment is quiet, but it is loud in meaning. The silence around her is not calm. It is tense. It is the kind of silence that comes before truth crashes down. Dani has spent so long holding things together, pretending that control means safety. But control disappears the second blood becomes part of the story. Blood does not lie. Blood does not bend to emotions or excuses. That is what scares her the most. Her face tells a story before she ever speaks. She is trying to be strong, but strength is starting to crack. This is not fear of pain or needles. This is fear of answers. Deep down, Dani knows that some truths cannot be put back once they are known. She knows that love can change when identity changes. She knows that family bonds can stretch, but they can also snap. The test forces her to face something she has been avoiding for a long time. The question is not just what the results will say. The question is whether she is ready to live with them. What makes this moment powerful is how normal it looks on the surface. There is no shouting, no dramatic music pushing emotion, just a woman standing at the edge of her own past. Dani's fear comes from memory, from choices made long ago, from things that were hidden for reasons that once felt necessary. Now those reasons feel weak. The blood test becomes a mirror, and Dani is finally forced to look at herself without the comfort of denial. This is not a test of blood. It is a test of who she really is. Nicole enters this moment differently, but her calm is just another kind of armor. She looks steady, almost prepared, yet that calm hides a storm she has been carrying for years. Nicole understands what this test could mean before anyone explains it. She knows that answers can bring relief, but they can also bring loss. The difference between Nicole and Dani is not fear, it is acceptance. Nicole has already made peace with the idea that life does not always give neat endings. Her strength does not come from certainty. It comes from love. Nicole is not thinking about herself first. She is thinking about how the truth might affect everyone connected to it. That weight shows in her eyes, even when her voice stays steady. She is holding space for Dani, even while bracing for her own heartbreak. This moment changes how we see Nicole. She is not just reacting anymore. She is leading emotionally, whether she realizes it or not. There is something powerful about the way Nicole stays present. She does not rush the moment. She does not distract herself with jokes or small talk. She lets the silence sit because she understands that silence can be honest. The blood test forces her to face a future where things may not look the way they always have. And yet, she stands firm. That is not weakness. That is courage. Nicole's role in this episode is quiet but important. She becomes the emotional center without asking for it. While others fear exposure, Nicole fears separation. She knows that once truth enters the room, relationships will be tested in ways that love alone may not fix. Still, she stays. That choice says everything about who she is. The blood test scene itself is uncomfortable by design. Every pause feels longer than it should. Every glance carries meaning. This is not about medical steps. It is about what happens when people are forced to stop running. The show lets the moment breathe because it wants the audience to feel the tension, not just understand it. The test becomes symbolic. Blood represents origin, identity, and connection. Once it is drawn, there is no turning back. What makes this scene hit harder is what is not said. Dani avoids eye contact. Nicole watches closely. These small details matter. They show fear, trust, doubt, and hope all existing at the same time. The moment reminds us that truth does not arrive loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly and sits with you, waiting for you to acknowledge it. This scene also shifts the pace of the season. Episode 2 makes it clear that this story will not rush its biggest reveals. It wants the emotional damage to land first. The audience is placed in the same position as the characters, waiting without control. That shared waiting builds connection. You feel their anxiety because you are trapped in it with them. The blood test becomes a promise to the audience. A promise that secrets will not stay buried forever. A promise that the past will return, no matter how carefully it was hidden. And most of all, a promise that the fallout will be emotional, not just shocking. This moment matters because it sets the emotional rules for the rest of the season. From here on, denial is no longer safe. Dani and Nicole cannot pretend that the truth does not exist. The test forces both women to confront who they are, who they thought they were, and what happens when those two things do not match. That conflict will not disappear once results arrive. In many ways, it will only grow. The real tension is not in the outcome, but in the aftermath. How do you love someone when the foundation of that love changes? How do you forgive choices made out of fear? How do you rebuild trust when the truth arrives too late? These questions linger long after the scene ends. That is what makes episode 2 powerful. This episode proves that season 2 is not interested in easy drama. It is interested in emotional realism. The blood test is just the spark. The fire comes later. Relationships will be tested. Loyalties will shift. And the idea of family will be challenged. Dani and Nicole may survive this moment, but they will not walk away unchanged. By the time the episode ends, one thing is clear. The blood test is not the story. It is the beginning of it. Nicole steps into this moment carrying a calm that feels earned, not forced. She is not pretending that everything will be fine. She is choosing steadiness because she knows panic will only make things worse. Her strength in this episode is quiet, but it is deep. Nicole understands that the blood test is not only about results. It is about what those results could change forever. That awareness sits heavy on her, even when she does not speak. What makes Nicole different from everyone else in this moment is her readiness to face whatever comes next. She is not running from the truth. She is standing in front of it with open eyes. That does not mean she is fearless. It means she has already accepted that some answers cannot be controlled. Nicole has lived long enough knowing that love does not protect you from pain. Sometimes love leads you straight into it. Her silence says more than words ever could. When she looks at Dani, there is concern, but there is also resolve. Nicole knows Dani is struggling, and she does not pressure her or push her. Instead, she offers presence. She stays grounded so Dani does not have to be alone in her fear. That kind of support is rare. It comes from someone who understands emotional weight and chooses to carry it anyway. Nicole's inner conflict is subtle but powerful. She is not just worried about what the blood test might reveal. She is worried about what happens after. She knows that truth changes dynamics. It shifts power. It exposes wounds that never fully healed. Nicole understands that once something is known, it cannot be unknown. That reality makes her careful with every word, every look, every breath. There is also a sense that Nicole has suspected something for a long time. Not enough to confront it openly, but enough to prepare herself emotionally. Her calm feels like someone who has already imagined multiple outcomes. She has already asked herself hard questions in private. What if things are not what they seem? What if love is tested in ways it never has been before? What if the past refuses to stay silent? This preparation does not erase the pain, but it gives her balance. Nicole's strength in this episode is not about being unbreakable. It is about being willing to bend without breaking. She allows herself to feel the weight of the moment without letting it consume her. That balance makes her the emotional anchor of the scene. Others react to fear. Nicole responds with care. That difference matters as the episode moves forward. It becomes clear that Nicole is stepping into a new role. She is no longer just reacting to events around her. She is emotionally leading through example. Her ability to stay present, even when the future feels uncertain, shows growth. It also sets her up for deeper challenges ahead. Because when the truth finally arrives, it will not just test Dani, it will test Nicole's limits, her forgiveness, and her understanding of family. This section of the episode quietly tells us something important. Nicole is stronger than she looks, but that strength comes with a cost. She feels deeply. She loves deeply. And because of that, whatever the blood test reveals will hit her in ways she may not be ready for. Still, she stays. And that choice defines her more than any result ever could. The blood test scene is designed to make the audience uncomfortable. And that discomfort is the point. Nothing dramatic happens on the surface, yet everything feels heavy. Time seems to slow down, not because the story stalls, but because the characters are forced to sit with their thoughts. This is one of those moments where waiting becomes the real conflict. The longer the silence lasts, the louder the fear grows. The show understands that anticipation can be more powerful than action. What stands out most is how carefully every movement is treated. Small pauses feel intentional. Glances last a second longer than usual. No one rushes to fill the space with words. This choice turns an ordinary procedure into an emotional pressure point. The audience is not being told how to feel. Instead, they are invited to feel it naturally. Anxiety builds not through noise, but through restraint. The blood itself carries meaning far beyond the test. It represents origin, truth, and connection. Once it is drawn, it becomes evidence that cannot be argued with. That is why this moment feels final even though the results are not yet known. The act alone changes things. It marks a line between before and after. Before, doubt could exist quietly. After, doubt demands answers. Dani's discomfort becomes more visible here. Her body language shifts in subtle ways. She avoids looking directly at what is happening, as if turning away might delay what comes next. This avoidance feels emotional, not physical. It shows someone who understands that truth is approaching and is unsure how to meet it. Every second feels like a countdown, even though nothing is officially revealed. Nicole, on the other hand, watches closely. Her focus is steady, but not cold. She is observing not just the procedure, but Dani's reaction to it. This tells us that Nicole understands the emotional stakes even more clearly now. She is not just preparing for information. She is preparing for impact. She knows that results do not land gently. They land on relationships, memories, and trust. What makes this scene effective is what it refuses to do. It does not rush toward a shock. It does not use music to force emotion. It lets the audience sit inside the tension. This patience signals something important about the season. Big truths will not arrive in explosive moments alone. They will unfold slowly, affecting people in layers. The damage will be emotional before it is visible. The blood test scene also shifts control away from the characters. For once, no one can talk their way out of what is coming. No explanation, no justification, no excuse can change what science will show. The loss of control is frightening, especially for characters used to managing their own narratives. This moment strips that power away and replaces it with waiting as the scene ends. The weight does not lift. If anything, it grows heavier. The audience is left with the same uncertainty as the characters. That shared experience builds empathy. You are no longer watching from a distance. You are waiting with them, and that waiting becomes the emotional engine driving the rest of the episode forward. This scene confirms that the season is less about sudden twists and more about consequences. The blood test is not treated as a plot device. It is treated as a turning point that quietly rearranges everything. From this moment on, nothing feels secure. Every relationship carries new tension. Every conversation feels like it could crack open something fragile. By choosing restraint over spectacle, the episode proves its confidence. It trusts the story. It trusts the characters. And most importantly, it trusts the audience to understand that sometimes the most powerful moments are the ones where nothing happens, yet everything changes. By the time this episode moves past the blood test, the emotional damage has already begun, even though no results are known yet. This is what makes the moment so powerful. The story is no longer about what might happen. It becomes about what has already changed inside Dani and Nicole. Once they agree to the test, there is no going back to the comfort of not knowing. Ignorance is no longer an option, and that realization alone reshapes everything. Dani is clearly affected in ways she does not fully understand yet. Her thoughts are scattered, her emotions unsettled. Even when she tries to act normal, something feels off. The episode shows how fear can linger long after the source of it is gone. Dani begins to question moments from her past that once felt harmless. Conversations replay in her mind. Small details suddenly feel important. This is the beginning of emotional unraveling, not because she is weak, but because truth has a way of breaking down the walls we build to survive. Nicole is impacted differently, but just as deeply. Her strength starts to feel heavier now, carrying. Calm is easier before choices are made. Afterward, calm turns into responsibility. Nicole becomes aware that she may soon be asked to respond in ways that will define her relationships forever. Forgiveness, distance, loyalty, or confrontation are all possible paths, and none of them are easy. The episode lets this weight settle on her quietly, without rushing her reaction. What this section of the story does so well is show how truth creates emotional distance, even before it arrives. Dani and Nicole are physically close, yet emotionally drifting, not because they want to separate, but because fear builds invisible walls. Each woman starts processing alone, even while standing together. This separation is subtle, but it matters. It shows how secrets affect connection long before they are spoken out loud. The episode also makes it clear that the fallout from the blood test will not be simple or clean. There will be no single conversation that fixes everything. Whatever the results reveal, the emotional consequences will stretch across multiple relationships. Trust will be questioned. Motives will be re-examined. Love will be tested in ways that words cannot repair overnight. This slow-building tension is intentional. It prepares the audience for a long emotional journey rather than a quick resolution. Another important element here is how the show treats accountability. The blood test brings past decisions into the present. Choices that once felt justified now face judgment under a new light. This does not mean the episode is assigning blame yet. Instead, it asks a harder question. Can people understand why choices were made, even if those choices caused harm? That question will shape everything moving forward. As the episode closes this chapter, the sense of unease remains. Dani and Nicole are no longer standing on solid ground. They are standing on possibility, and possibility can be terrifying. The blood test has shifted the power of the story. The past now has a voice, and it is about to speak whether anyone is ready or not. This section proves that Season 2 is focused on emotional truth rather than quick drama. The writers trust the audience to sit with discomfort and reflect on it. They understand that real pain does not arrive all at once. It creeps in, settles, and changes how people see each other. Dani and Nicole have crossed a line, not with words, but with a choice. From here on, every moment carries the weight of what is coming next. As the story moves forward, the real danger is no longer the blood test itself, but what it threatens to uncover. Secrets that have been buried for years do not stay quiet when truth starts knocking. This episode makes it clear that whatever the results show, they will not affect just one person. They will ripple outward, touching everyone connected to Dani and Nicole. That is where the real stakes begin to surface. Dani has the most to lose, and she knows it. Her fear is not only about exposure, but about judgment. She understands that people do not just react to truth, they react to timing. A secret revealed too late can feel like betrayal, even if it was kept with good intentions. Dani begins to sense that her past choices may soon be questioned in ways she cannot defend anymore. Explanations may exist, but explanations do not always heal damage. Nicole, meanwhile, is facing a different kind of risk. Her role in the family could shift overnight depending on what comes out. She may be forced into a position she never asked for, one that demands emotional decisions she is not prepared to make publicly. The episode quietly suggests that Nicole might already be bracing for blame, even if she does not deserve it. Truth has a way of assigning guilt unevenly, and Nicole understands that reality all too well. What makes this section so tense is the uncertainty around who already knows more than they are saying. The episode plants the idea that someone may have been protecting the truth for a long time. That protection, once seen as love, could soon be reinterpreted as deception. This shift in perspective is dangerous because it changes how every past interaction is viewed. Smiles start to feel suspicious. Silence feels intentional. Trust begins to weaken without a single argument taking place. The blood test also threatens the idea of family as something stable and unchanging. This episode challenges the belief that family is defined only by shared history. Instead, it raises uncomfortable questions about identity, belonging, and honesty. If blood proves something different than what was believed, does that erase years of connection, or does it make those connections stronger? The show does not answer this yet, but it makes sure the question lingers. Another layer of tension comes from what is at risk emotionally. Love is not just about caring for someone. It is about accepting them when their story does not match the version you believed. Dani fears that acceptance may not come easily. Nicole fears that acceptance may demand sacrifice. Both women are standing at the edge of emotional loss, unsure of what will fall away once the truth becomes public. This section of the episode also hints that consequences will not arrive all at once. They will unfold slowly through conversations, reactions, and choices. Some damage will be immediate. Other wounds will take time to surface. That slow burn is intentional. It mirrors real life, where truth does not explode and disappear. It settles in and changes how people relate to each other over time. By focusing on what is at risk rather than what is revealed, the episode deep